Jai Hind to all. Myself Shikha Agarwal, Assistant Professor in Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. Today we are going to discuss about the next topic in computer networks, that is network layer. When we talk about the network layer, as we have know that in the OSI model, it exists between the transport layer and data link layer. So when we talk about the position of the network layer, it survives between the transport layer and data link layer. So into this, basically it gives services to the transport layer, and it is having an n number of services or the duties or the responsibilities of the network layer, right? So when we talk about the transport layer, there are the various duties. Like first of all, we are going to discuss about internetworking. When we talk about the internetworking, it means the network of networks. We are moving the data from a one node to another node. Both are of different lengths or both are on the different places. Then we are talking about the concept of internetworking. Then after that, when we talk about network layer, it is a one type of addressing is used. When we talk about the network layer, in this we are using a logical address, or when we interact with the outside world. So that is why when we goes into the beyond our limits, then we can say we require also known as an IP address. So it requires a addressing which is called as a logical addressing or IP addressing. After that, we are talking about the routing. We need to route the packet to the correct destination, right? So in which route we need to follow, which path we need to follow. It means we are talking about the concept of routing. Then after that, we are going to talk about packetization. As we know, we are having a large, big packets which can be not be easy to travel on the given channel bandwidth. So sometimes we need to do the packetization. For example, suppose there are the n number of nodes they wants to transmit, so they are converted into a one single packet so that it can easily travel onto the network. After that, when we talk about the fragmenting means dividing the packet into the small chunks. Then we are talking about the concept of fragmenting. Now, because we are talking about these are the duties and responsibilities. So here we are going to talk about the IP addressing, right? So in this lecture, I am going to discuss about the IP addresses. When we talk about the IP addresses, we know that IP addresses basically a unique or universal device connection address through which we are interacting to the internet. So when we talk about the IP addressing, it is being divided in the two types, IPv4 and IPv6. When we talk about the IPv4, it stands for Internet Protocol version 4. When I'm talking about IPv4, it is a 32-bit address which is being uniquely and universally defined the connection of a device. That particular device can be anything. It can be a router, it can be a computer, it can be switch, any type of device which interacts to the internet. Then after that, when I'm talking about the IPv4 addressing, first we are going to discuss about IPv4. IPv4 is a 32-bit long address, right? And if it is a 32-bit long address, each and every address is unique and universally defined to the internet. And similarly, when it is having a 32-bit address, so the address space in the IPv4 is 2 raised to power 32, which gives these number of IP addresses, right? Then after that, when I'm talking about the IPv4 addressing, we are going to talk about its representation or a notation for IPv4. So it is being represented in the two notation. First is called as a dotted decimal notation. When I'm using the word dotted decimal, we know that we have to represent the 32 bits, or you can say a 4-byte long address, because each bit represents the 8 bits. So that particular bit, it is being separated with the dots. So that is why this notation is called as a dotted. Secondly, we are talking about decimal. So we represent each and every number in a decimal form. Then we can say it is called as a dotted decimal notation. The second notation, we are going to talk about a binary notation. When we convert this particular dotted decimal into the string of binaries, which is of 32-bit long, then we can say it is called as a binary notation. So these are the two representations of IPv4 addressing, is either a dotted decimal notation or binary notation. Suppose, let's talk about one example. Suppose if I give you an address in a binary notation and ask you to replace the address or to convert the address into a dotted decimal notation. So what we need to do is, we are making a group of 8 bits and then we have to convert it into the decimal notation by using the very basic method of conversion, which is already we have studied about the binary conversion and decimal conversion. And finally, after clubbing it, we will get it as 129. So this is the way how we need to convert into a decimal numbers. And the vice versa can question also come, that suppose if I give you an address in a dotted decimal notation and you have to convert it into binary notation. So what you need to do, you have to do the binary division, and after doing that we will get the binary notations of that particular number. So we are having a 111, then we have to convert it into binary and we will get the that particular number represents the 8 bits. So into that case we have to convert it into the binary equivalent. The next question comes, now suppose we are giving you IP addresses and into which you have to find whether there is an error or not. So suppose if I am talking about the first example, suppose the first example is being given in a dotted decimal notation. Remember always that not even a single byte starts from the 0. So if it is not starting from the 0, then we can say it means it is an error free. So suppose in the given address, the third byte of the IP address starts with the 0. If it is leading with the 0, then there is an error. Fine. The second IP address consists of 5 byte. Right? As we have studied that the IPv4 is a 4 byte long. If it is a 5 byte long, it means there is an error into it. Right? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So there is an error. So we can say there are not more than 4 numbers into the data. So then we can say there is an error. The third, in the third string, the value is 301. As we have already studied that the number should not greater than 255. Whether it is less than 255 or equals to 255, but it should not be greater than 255 because each and every byte should range between 0 to 255. So we can say there is an error. The next we are having a fourth question. It is the combination of dotted decimal as well as binary. So there is an error into it that we can represent either in a one notation. We cannot use the mixture of both. So that is not being allowed. So due to which there is an error into it. The next is, first of all, when we talk about the IP addressing, in this we are going to talk about the division of classes. So IP addressing is divided in the two types, two categories, either a classful addressing or classless addressing. When we talk about the classful addressing, the given address space is being divided into the n number of classes. That classes is being divided as 5 classes A, B, C, D and E. Now on the basis of the binary and the dotted decimal notation, how will you identify that which class it belongs to? So for example, if the range of the first byte is 0 to 127 or the first byte of that particular bit string that is equals to 0, then we can say it is class A. If the range is 128 to 191, then we can say it is of class B if the first two bits are 10. Then after that, if we are talking about the C class, that is 192 to 223, and if it is ranging from 110 starts, then we can say it is of C class. Then in the D class, if we have a 224 to 239, and if the first 4 bits as 1110, then we can say it belongs to D class. If it is 242, 255 and the first 4 bits of the first byte, if it equals to 4 times 1, then we can say it belongs to the E class. Now there is an example. So suppose if I give you the class of each address, so you have to find the class. If I give you the clusters of IP addresses and ask you which class it belongs to. So what you need to do, the first address is given in a binary notation. When it is given in the binary notation, you have to check the first bit. First bit is 0. If the first bit is 0, as we know that it is of class A. If the first bit is 0, then we can say it is of class A. The second is, the first bit is 1, again the second bit is 1 and the last bit is 0. So 1, 1, 0. Then we can say it is of C class. Then after that, we have to check it is in a dotted decimal notation. So we have to check the first byte. If the first byte is ranging from 0 to 127, then we can say it is of class A. So it is already 14. So we know that it is exists between 0 to 127. Then we can say it is of class A. And finally, when it is 252, we know that from the 240 to 255, when it belongs, then we can say it is of E class. Then we can say it exists in the E class. This is the way how we have to find that which class it belongs to. Now after that, when we are talk about the concept of classful IP addressing, we should know which class is having how many number of blocks, what is its block size, as well as its applications. So first of all, we are going to discuss about the class A. In the class A, as we know that if it is of class A, then we can say it is having a 128 blocks and each block size is more than 60, right? And similarly, it is used for unicasting. After that, when we talk about the B class, it is having a 16,384 blocks, due to which we are having a 65,536 is a one block size of that. Again, it is used for unicasting. The third is a number of blocks of C class. Each size is of 256. Again, it is used for unicasting. Then after that, let's talk about the D and E class. Generally, the D class is having only a single number of block, and particularly the size of the one block is this, and it is generally used for the multicasting, right? And finally, when we talk about the E class, the number of blocks in the E class is 1 and its block size is similar to the D class, but it is already being reserved for the future use. When we talk about the classful addressing, a large number of available addresses is being wasted. How? Suppose there is a one organization, they are asking for the 10,000 or 20,000 IP addresses. Into that case, we can provide a B class because it is having a 65,536. So if we provide a 10,000 IP addresses to it, or a one block of B class, into which we can say if it requires a 10,000, into that case 55,000 approx IP addresses is being wasted. Similarly, if I provide you the C class, it requires a large number of blocks, right? So somewhere there is an address depletion or subnetting or supernetting is being required into it, due to which we are saying that a large part of the available addresses are to be wasted. That is why now see the default mask CIDR notations for the classful addressing. This is of A class, so we can say 255 is the mask value, due to which the CIDR is a /8. When we talk about the B class, starting 2 bytes are 255.255, due to which the CIDR is fixed, that is /16. And finally, it is of CIDR, that is 255, 255, 255, due to which the CIDR notation is fixed, that is a /24. Now, somewhere the classful addressing is become obsolete. Why it has become obsolete? Because somewhere it is required more, somewhere available addresses are being wasted. So now what is the benefit of using all these types of concepts? So that is why we are moving from the classful addressing to the classless addressing. When we talk about the classless addressing, now you can see the concept of classless addressing. When we talk about the concept of classless addressing, it always follows the certain concepts. The first concept is that whatever the class, there is not a concept of ABCD classes. In the case of classless addressing, we are not talking about this belongs to A class, B class and so on. But generally we are talking about the concepts of classes. Now in the case of classless addressing, there is a first restriction that we have to provide the addresses should be in a contiguous manner, right? one after another. Now you can see an example. Suppose if I give 16 IP addresses to a small organization. So if I start the first address as 205.16.37.32, it gives us 16 addresses. So in continuation, I give addresses. The second thing is the addresses must be in the power of 2. Suppose an organization requires a 15 IP addresses. So in spite of 15, we are providing 16 IP addresses to the network, because we always talk the number of addresses in the power of 2. So this is the second rule, restriction, right? And finally, whatever the first address we are giving, it should be divided by the total number of IP addresses, is the third restriction. Now you can see, suppose if I give this as a first address, you can check that this particular address, we need to convert it into a normal binary decimal notation, and we have to divide the 16. Why we need to divide by 16? Because we are providing a 16 IP address. And if the resultant is completely divisible, then we can say, we can give it as a starting address. So remember the 3 points. The first is the addresses should be contiguous. The second, it should be in the power of 2. And the third is the first address should always be divisible by the total number of IP address. When we talk about the IP addressing, IPv4 in the case of classless addressing, in the case of classful, we have already talked about CIDR notations, that is \8, 16 and 24. It is being fixed. But in this case, we are not going to talk about the fixed notations. The mask value defines the particular network. So due to which it may vary from the network to the network. So into that case, we have to use the notation as x.y.z.t/n, right? In which the /n defines the mask value and xyzt defines the address of the network. Now suppose if the question comes in your paper that suppose if I give you the middle address, and if I ask you to find out the first address, last address and the total number of addresses into the network. So into this, there is a formula in which you need to calculate. Let's do one more example. If I give you a block of addresses is being granted to a small organization, and out of that one address is this is being given, and they ask you to calculate the first address into the block, right? So what is the formula to calculate the first address? It was being found to the setting 32 minus n bits to the rightmost bits to the 0, right? So what you need to do, first of all, this particular address is being converted into binary. Fine. After converting into the binary, what you have to do is 32 minus n. N is mask value, because we have used the representation x.y.z.t/n. So this particular n is 28. So what you need to do, we have to set 32 minus n rightmost bits to 0. So if we do, the 10 comes out to be 4. So starting 4 bits is being converted into zeros, and after that when we convert it into the decimal, we will get the first address, that is equals to .32. Then after that the question comes, you have to find the last address of that particular address. So in the case of last address, what we need to do, we have to set the rightmost bit 32 minus n bits to 1, right? So what you need to do is, the rightmost 4 bits are 0, 111. So we have to set it into a 4 times 1, and when we are converting into it, we are getting as 47. So this will be the last address. After that, the question comes, you have to calculate the total number of IP addresses. We know the 32, n is equals to 28. So we need to find the total number of addresses. It should be used by the formula of 2 raised to power 32 minus n bits. Into that case, when we use, so we will get 2 raised to power 32 minus n, that is equals to 2 raised to power 4, that is equals to 60. This is the way how you need to calculate the first address, last address and number of addresses. Let's do one more example. Now we are going to explain you with another method also, in which we are applying the or AND gate. Now there is another way to find the first, last and the total number of addresses, in which we are representing the mask of 32 bit into an 8-digit hexadecimal numbers. Suppose if I give you a complete address, right, into which first of all you need to do is calculate the mask of that value. If I give you a /28, it means we have to use 28 ones and the last 4 bits as zeros. This is called as a mask number or mask address, right? Now, after using that particular mask, suppose the address is being given, whatever the address we are using from the previous example, first of all converted into the binary notation. Then for the first address, what you need to do is you have to calculate the address and the mask AND operation. After applying the AND operation, we know if both the bits are 1, then we have to use 1. If any of the bit is 0, then the resultant is automatically 0, right? So what you need to do with the given address, you have to apply the mask and you have to find the first address by applying the AND function. Then you will get the first address. The next is we need to calculate the last address. If for using the last address, first of all we have to convert the mask into the mask complement, in which we are using the 28 ones. So what we need to do is we have to convert it into the complement. So 1 is being converted into zeros and 0 converted into 1. We have to complement with the mask complement with the address. You have to apply the OR function. And the OR function says if both the bits are 0, then we have to use 0. Otherwise, we always use the resultant as 1. So we can easily calculate the last address. And finally, if we need to calculate the total number of addresses, what we need to do, we have to convert the mask complement into the binary. That binary is converted into the decimal and we have to add the 1 to it. Then we are finally getting the total number of IP address. So whatever the mask complement we have, first of all, we have to convert it into binary. Then we are getting as 15. And we have to add 1. Then we are getting the total number of IP addresses. Now, if I'm talking about the network configuration of that particular address, that 32 is the starting address and 47 will be the last. And we are providing the 16 IP addresses to the whole network. Now, after that, remember one thing, we have talked about the first address, last address and network address and so on. Remember always that first, whatever the first address of a block is being given to the network, it should not be assigned to the any device. Generally, that particular address is being used as a network address so that it can represent the complete organization with the rest of the world. Fine. So what we are doing it, we are representing with the external world. So that is why we are using the first address as the network address. We can also say one thing, that the first address can also be called as a network address. Now let's do one more question. Suppose if I am talking about an ISP, it is being granting a block of addresses that starting from this range /16, in which we are total giving you 65,536 addresses. Now the ISP says this particular address is being divided into the 3 groups, right? So we are talking about the 3 groups. Out of all these 3 groups, suppose if I talk about first group, it is having a 64 customer and each customer requires a 256 IP addresses and so on. So what we have to do, we have to design a sub block and we have to find the total number of IP addresses is being used. How many number of IP addresses are still available for the given sub block. So what we need to do, first of all, we need to calculate for the group number 1. When we talk about the group number 1, it says I am having a 64 customers and each customer requires 256 IP addresses. So if I say the first customer starts from the range of this, so it requires 256, so it will stands with 255 here, right? And we have to calculate the mask value. So for calculating the mask value, it requires the 256 IP addresses. So we have to apply the formula log to the base 256. That comes out to be 8. So 32 minus 8, that equals to 24. It gives you the mask value. This is the way how you are calculating it. It requires till the 64 customers. So we have to end with the 63. 63.0 to 63.255. This is the way how you are getting it. So if we say one customer requires 256, then 64 customers require 256. In total, this number of addresses is being used. Second example says each customer requires a 128 IP addresses and 128 total customer. Because we ends the customer as 190.100.63.255. So we'll start from 64.0 and it requires a 128, so it ends with 27. 128, then 255 and so on. So after the 128th customer, it ends on 127.128 to 127 to 255. And finally, we require this number of total IP addresses. Now let's calculate for the third. For the third group, for the second group, similarly, mask notation is log to the base 2 128 and we are getting 7. It's calculated that we get a 25. Finally, when we talk about the 64 addresses, again we can use the log formula and we are getting a mask value as 26. So we are using 26. And finally, because the last customer ends at 190.100.127.255, so we'll start from 128.0 to 63. It ends on 159.255 and it requires itne number of devices. Then finally, it is being granted, total grant is being given is 65,000. How many number of addresses are allocated? So what we need to do is, we need to calculate 16834 plus group B plus 8192. After doing the sum, we are getting this number of IP addresses. And when we subtract both the numbers, we are left with the 24,000 approx IP addresses into it. This is the way how you have to make the sub block, right? When we talk about the IP addresses, there are certain addresses which is being used as a private networks. So there are the certain ranges like 10.10.00.002. This range having a 2 raised to power 24 IP addresses. This is the range which is being used in a private networks. Generally, when I'm teaching in my lab classes, I used to use this 192.168.0.0 up to this range. These are all known as a private networks. Then when we talk about the private network, now what we need to do is, we are talking about the network address translation. Why we require the network address translation? Because suppose if I am providing a site for a private addresses to the particular network, but there is a one device which is being connecting to the rest of the network. So whatever the information is being passed through this particular private site network, it is always interacting with this router. So internet ke saath, this router is only dealing whatever the information is being passed to this rest of the network. So that is why we require a one device that is called as a NAT router, or you can say network address translation. How the network address translation works? Now see, suppose this is the node, they wants to transmit their data, they use as a source address and transmitted their data to on its router. Its router is having its own address. So it will interact with this router address to the rest of the world, and whatever the process is being done, then it will comes onto the router and it is the responsibility of router to provide it to the correct destination. So basically, who is the source node? That is this one. But who is working as a conversion? This router. What is its address? This one, right? So it is being interacting with the outside world is 200.24.5.8, right? When I'm talking about the network address translation, it always maintains the tables with its private network and with its external network, so that we can easily transmit the data from the correct source to the correct destination. When I'm talking about the network address translation, it always includes the 5 columns in the table. First is their private address. What is the private port address number of that particular data? What is the external address? What is the external port number, and which type of a protocol we are using to transmit the data? When I'm talking about the ISP and NAT, generally ISP provides a number of addresses to the network and it is being interacting by the help of the network address translations. Thank you.